And we are live. Welcome, everybody. Lots of racing action going on. Matter of fact, I was just watching some highlights here. We've got, right here in Minnesota, we've got the Jackson Nationals going on down there in Jackson, Minnesota. We've got my hometown track opening up tonight, so we're excited about that. World of Outlaw late models at the Firecracker going on out in Pennsylvania. And we've got the Lucas Oil Dirt Late Model Series down in the Deep South. 411 in Tennessee last night. They'll go down to the short track in Talladega. And Talladega is where we're going to start today. We're talking a little NASCAR. A lot of NASCAR, mostly all NASCAR. And Bubba Wallace. So Talladega was going on last week. Sure, all of you heard the controversy. They banned the Confederate flag. And somebody come, a bunch of people on the other side across the street with trucks and stuff with flags. A plane flies over the track with a Confederate flag saying defund NASCAR. And then we have this noose controversy. I got to look at my notes. Oh, wait. Here. Thank you. There's my notes. Some of my notes here. So Bubba Wallace, and this is not the first time Bubba's been in the news. For those of you who don't know, Bubba's African-American. He's the only African-American driver in the series. Now, one thing I want to say about Bubba, though, is he is very articulate. He is very well-spoken. No one can argue that. And so I caught up with an interview with him on Don Lemon's show on CNN. And for those of you who need a little background, apparently there's an accusation that a noose was found in Bubba's pit stall on Sunday in the garage area. So NASCAR obviously had to investigate this, which is a good thing on NASCAR's part. And not only did they do like an internal investigation, or I don't even know if they necessarily did an internal investigation, but they went right to the big dogs. They brought in the FBI. No effing around here with NASCAR, which is good. We don't need, because even Bubba said in the interview, I felt threatened. I was scared. I was scared for my parents. So they brought in the big dogs right away. All right. Well, about a couple of days later, it didn't take very long. NASCAR, or the FBI, concluded that through some video and some old pictures that this noose or rope or however you tie a knot had already been in that garage stall, and it was used as a garage pole. Okay? So basically, for everyone, it's case closed. Now, there were some people, heckling NASCAR. They jumped on it too soon. Or on these hypersensitive times, I had no problem with that. Better to be safe than sorry, right? And like I said, they went right to the big dogs. No effing around, no messing around, which was perfect. All right. So now, the reason that I bring up this Don Lemon story is Bubba's on there, and he says, he kind of gives a little background, and Don says, well, did you see it? And he said, well, no, I didn't see it, because the day that they found it, and his actually, one of his crew members is also African-American, finds it, and he's the one that kind of reports it. He walks up and down the garage and says, anyone else have anything that looks like this in their garage stall? So Bubba says, Don, it's not a garage pole. This is a quote, quoting Mr. Wallace. It's not a garage pole. I have evidence. And he claims the FBI, Bubba Wallace, and NASCAR have proof it's a noose. Somebody tied a noose, not necessarily directed at me per se. I can't prove that, but I have proof. All right. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Has Bubba Wallace jumped the shark? For those of you that are millennials, jumping the shark, do you speak an episode called, or a TV show, sitcom called Happy Days? The Fonzarelli, remember the guy? He bangs on the jukebox and it plays music when he walks into the I don't know what you call that little soda shop. Anyway, very, very super popular in the 70s into the 80s. And then at one point, they had him on a surfboard. He jumped over a shark in an episode. That's what the term jump the shark. So gone too far. Has Bubba gone too far? So but Bubba is directly discrediting the FBI in saying what he's saying, because he's saying, I have proof this is a noose. Bubba, you're hurting your cause here. Now, I know you want to be known as NASCAR's progressive. That's okay. LeBron James wants to be known as the NBA's chief progressive. Although, LeBron, you're not really a progressive, because when all those protesters in Hong Kong 6, 7, 8, 9 months ago wearing your jerseys, and this is where the corona kind of got all this stuff, Hong Kong, out of the headlines, wearing your jerseys, asking for your support, you get microphones put in front of your face, and you know that you got Nike behind you, and you do the quick math and say, Nike sells a lot of shoes in China. There's 3.3 billion people in China. That means there's 6.6 billion feet in China. LeBron, what do you think of the protest? Well, I don't really have a comment. You know, everything's probably going to be okay. I don't really have a comment. You know, I'm not really a social justice warrior. What I am is I want money. I love my money. I love my gated community. I love my private plane. I love money. Now, Bubba, you love money too, right? And that's why you're doing this. You know why you're doing this? And fans, this is why Bubba is really playing this race card and trying to, not necessarily playing the race card, but he wants to keep the attention, the limelight on him for the race issue, not racing, but race, as in different skin color, race. Because remember, just 90 days ago, what was Bubba in the headlines for? He was in the headlines for all the trouble he caused with iRacing, for being a crybaby. When Clint Boyer got Bubba'd at the iRacing on Bristol. When Bubba quit the game and lost one of his sponsors, Petty Enterprises, lost a sponsor in Blue Emu. And the quote was something like, because I did a video on it, you probably remember that. The quote was something along the lines of, we want to sponsor a race car driver, not a crybaby who quits like a 13-year-old. It was something like that. You can Google it. You'll find it in a second. So Bubba, like I said, Bubba wants to reflect from being a race car driver, because that got him in trouble, the crybaby race car driver, deflect the attention to, I'm a social justice warrior, I'm going to be NASCAR's progressive, and remember me for this. And I have proof, and I'm going to go against the FBI. The FBI. I know more than the FBI. This was a noose. And this is where he wants to keep his attention. So NASCAR's kind of letting that flow. And like I said, I commend NASCAR for getting on this right away, calling in the FBI. Any kind of internal investigation is always suspicious, right? I mean, that's why Facebook's in so much trouble right now. When all that Cambridge Analytica stuff came out, I heard real smart people saying Facebook should hire an independent team to come in. They didn't. It was an internal investigation. NASCAR, they brought in the big dogs. They didn't screw around. They brought in the FBI. They got it taken care of. So now NASCAR, you've been turning the dial to the left, to the more progressive front, and this is another turn of the dial. You continue to lose viewership. You continue to lose your fan base. The NBA, pay attention, NASCAR, because you're doing what the NBA is doing. What is the NBA doing? Dialing hard progressive. Like I said, people like LeBron James, who talk out of both sides of the mouth. All I want is money. Social justice. Can you help us in Hong Kong? I can't do a thing. Just buy my shoes and, buy my shirts. Don't worry about it. The NHL has definitely not got, they've gotten weak. I wouldn't say they've turned the dial on to be progressive. They've gotten weak. The most popular, I'll tell you about the most popular sport on earth, UFC. Who's an anti-progressive? Dana White. Dana White says, F you to progressives. Corona, gotta wear a mask. I'm so scared. What's he doing? Renting islands, fighting. Going in Native American casinos, fighting. So Dana White as an anti-progressive, and you've got the NHL eliminating fighting. So I wouldn't say they necessarily turned to progressive. Their viewership is actually up, but they should allow, most fans want to see a fight, a game. The NFL has, in the past, been all about money. Now, with Goodell's admission a couple weeks ago, they were wrong on the kneeling, we were wrong on the flag. We'll see, kind of what happens with the NFL. That ought to be interesting. MLB, again, they're just all about the money. They're just going to, I think they just, settled that contract. They're going to be going back, it sounds like. Golf's been golfing, said same thing, they don't care about the money. They just gave that golfer $100,000, last week, because he came down with the corona and couldn't compete, so they just stroked him a check for $100,000. So NASCAR, if you want to grow, you've been dialing progressive for the last 10 years. And what has happened to your fan base? It's going away. Think, I told you in a previous video, if you want a commissioner who knows how to talk to your base in 5 years from now when Donald Trump's no longer president, you should get him to be your commissioner, because he knows how to talk to your base. That's the whole middle of America is your base, not the coast. The middle of America is your base. And if you look at an electoral map, Trump won almost the entire middle of the country. So that's it for my video today. Like I said, we got a lot of racing action going on over the weekend, so I'm gonna, like I said, excited to go to my home track for the first time. We're gonna catch that, so we will catch you on the next vlog.